I think we should explain what a trustee is.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually, because we haven't really touched upon like what a trustee does.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. So whenever I'll start, and then you can like piggyback on me. So whenever you file for bankruptcy, like in general court, as you know, there's a judge, there's one side, and then there's another side. In bankruptcy, there's no plaintiff and defendant. You, the person who files for bankruptcy, is called the debtor, and then anyone who you owe the money to is called creditor. If it's a credit card, it's an unsecured creditor because it's not secured by anything. There's no collateral, there's no house, there's no car. If you have a car or a house or something like that, it's called a secured creditor. There's a judge in bankruptcy court, just like in any other court. There's also a trustee, and the roles of the trustee is basically to look into your finances and decide what to do. In the chapter 13, trustee is in charge of all the payments. So you make all your monthly payments to the trustee most of the time, and then trustee will redistribute it over people who you owe the money to. Your credit card, your arrears in the mortgage, the water bill. So you make this one payment, and then the trustee gives it to whoever filed proof of claims and gives them the money. In the chapter 7, the role of the trustee is basically to look into like if you're hiding any assets, if you have any assets. If you don't have any assets, they're just gonna, you meet with them one time, they interview you for like 15 minutes, ask you questions to see if you're hiding anything. If you qualify and you're not hiding anything, they're just gonna give you a discharge. But if you are hiding something and they find it, they eyes lit up because that's how they get paid. If you're, hiding a house,
They what up? What do they do?
Their eyes lit up because that's
their eyes light up.
Because that's how they get paid. They get commission on. We can sell your house and pay your creditors, and that's how they'll get like commission or.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So it's to their direct financial benefit
To find stuff. Okay, and what, like for example, like say you're married, you want to get bankruptcy, but your wife is like financially fine. How do those things get cut up?
Well, they want to know about that too in chapter 7 because they want to see. They want to make sure, and New Yorkers out there. I mean, we know how people, it's like put everything in one spouse's name, and the other spouse doesn't own anything, to kind of hide stuff. But trustees, like they want to know about that, especially in chapter 7, because again, this is how they make their money.
Okay.
And generally, an attorney's job in these situations is to, even before you file. Especially chapter 7, a lot of work comes before you file to make sure, number one, all the assets people have are exempt, right? If possible. And then the non-exempt assets, let's say you have a boat, right? You have a ton of debt, you own a boat, and tell them, hey, this boat, there's no exemption for this boat. And when I say an exemption, basically a federal or state rule that says you can have, like let's say you have a car that's worth $3,000. That you can have a car that's worth $3,000 and the trustee will not touch it, right? So the attorney's job is to essentially dot all the I's and cross all the T's with the exemptions. And any unexempt debt that has to be turned over, then the client understands it, right? Because I've had clients before, they go out, they buy an S-Class Mercedes, and before we even file, we tell them, you need to take the tags off this car, you need to put it in your driveway, you need to tell them to come pick it up, because I can tell you right now, that's what's going to happen, because this is an unexempt debt and you have too much other debt. Do you want to proceed with a bankruptcy, right? And the trustee is going to make sure that happens. Whereas in a chapter 13, the goal of the trustee, and also just to kind of like expound on what you said, right? The trustee is going to make sure your plan payment's correct because you have to submit a plan to the court. So the trustee is going to make sure all the numbers are correct, that it makes sense that the creditors, as in like a mortgage company, credit card company, all these people you owe, or institutions you owe money to, that they are given a fair share of what's owed, right? Depending on the plan. But if that's not the case, or if you screw up, the trustee will file what's called a motion to dismiss, basically asking the judge to dismiss the bankruptcy because it's not going to work. But if you do everything right, the trustee is going to recommend confirmation, where it's basically you don't really need to go back to court. You don't need to file any new plans. Just keep paying every month, and at the end, basically at the end, all the court's going to do is issue an order discharging debt,